Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Of Scribes and Men. This is going to be the after the fact, my experiences of writing up to 4,000 poems, well, specifically this last stretch of 1,000. It started off well, from volumes 31 to volumes 35, 36, around there. I was able to kind of like have my groove on, experiment a little bit, test things out, learn new forms, which I did. Like this Giltonic is one of the new forms, and then the Tanaga, which is a Filipino poetry form. Both of those I learned, and there was like a few others. I'm up to 45 forms now. I will say that once again, this is not for the faint of heart. If you have literally family, friends, kids, this is not the type of project I would recommend for you unless you have the next level of insanity of wanting to test your endurance and creative limits above already what you are doing. I'm just in a very fortunate situation where I am able to test my poetic artistic limits as far as they can possibly go, and in essence grow from everything I learn in doing that. Now, it was from when I went to Fan Expo here in Vancouver. Um, that's when I caught the con plague, and that's when things kind of like started slowing down for me because um, probably from volumes 35, no, 36, 37 to 38, 39 is when I got sick. I developed this cough that has taken a month to go away. I have not been able to do many of the things that I would have liked to do thanks to it. Some of which being, exercise. And how can you exercise if you're hacking your lungs out? You can't. At least I can't, because like I don't feel like spending 30 minutes on the ground heaving thanks to this cough. So I got sick, got the cough, went to see the doctors, got the meds, and um it was during the last like period or so, within like the beginning of March. I had initially intended on having everything completed in February, volume 40 completed in February. That's when I initially intended to get things done. But once again, when you have a 3-day con that you're going to, trying to get people to put makeup on you, they didn't. And when you're trying to get people to put lore into your lore book, they did. And when you're around so many people that you don't know who is sick and who isn't sick, and ta-da, got the con plague, as people joke about it. But then, yeah, so that took me out of commission. And when you've got a fever, you can't really focus as hard on your hobbies as you would like to. Like, yeah, I would be maybe able to get like at best 1 to perhaps 5 poems a day done during that time period, but it still um, set me back far longer than I would have liked it to. What else? There was afterwards when I discovered the Canzone, which is a older. I want to say it's an Italian form. I'm pretty sure it's an Italian form. Um, like way, 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 way back in the past. It was one of the forms that Dante ended up working on, and like several others around there. Dante being the guy who did the Divine Comedy, or Dante's Inferno, if you will. which he wrote in terza rima, another poetic style that I do and know how to write in and have written in. You can see volumes 19 for that, and so I have several of the other volumes that I can't remember off the top of my head, but volume 19 will definitely have an example of me writing terza rima in there. The other thing that I've been trying to figure out, and I'm not very good at this, is the other thing that I've been trying to figure out is how to um, set it up so that when I do these videos, when I do these volumes, when I have all these complete, what would be the easiest, because I'm not very good at setting up a website, and even if I did spend the time making a website, it would like take off so much time. So my thought process has been like, what is like, I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear me read the poems volume by volume. They'll probably want to read it for themselves. So my question has started to become, how do I take that knowledge that I know there's going to be people who are going to want to read the volumes for themselves, assess it, and all of that, and make it accessible in an easy way that I don't have a headache over it. I haven't figured out the answer to it. The closest thing I've come to is maybe if I slap all the volumes onto Tumblr somehow, or if I like have a master list on Google Documents somehow and just like share each of those links that they can go into like the master list or something and click on the volumes. But then I would need to figure out how to do that, which would once again would take away more time. And so it's just like been one of those things that I've been pondering, like, is this something that I do now while I'm still in the midst of the project so that people can go and read these things? Or is this something I wait until after I'm done in November, where they can just go through all 100 volumes, and I will have the time to actually perhaps make a website for it where they're able to click volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, and so on and so forth. I don't have an answer here yet. That's something that has come up recently. I don't have an answer. I don't know which way I want to go about it. Would it be cool if somebody were to collab with me and help me out there? Sure, but I'm not expecting it, right? Most of this I am doing on my own, and there are times when it is exhausting. And speaking of exhausting, when I started on the Villanelles, which is like the big boy, like that's the woomph of, it's 100 pages of Villanelles. It's massive. It's not going to be the most massive one I do. It's going to be like second or third, depending. It was never going to be the first. The first is likely going to be volume 50, which I will leave that as a surprise for some other time. If you haven't been following my roadmap, if you will, I drop hints here and there, but if you aren't following the places where I drop the roadmaps of what I am planning, you'll have to wait. But I will tell you that volume 50 will likely be 300 pages or around there. So and yes, that is 100 poems. Just so you understand the length of these things. But yes, when it comes to the Villanelles, I do have a favorite, which is the Yuki Onna Comes. There were times when I was struggling trying to find the first line of the poem, because it is always the first line that then builds, or that the poem builds upon. So once you have a good first line for a villanelle that you can rhyme with, then the poem you can build the poem around it, because the first and the third of the first line and the third line of the first stanza repeat. So it goes first third, first third, first third, and then there's like a 4 line ending upon it. It's 19 lines all together. And if you don't know what Famous Villanelle is, most people refer to Don't Go Gently Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. I believe that is his last name. So I would be struggling trying to find good openers because that's what a villanelle needs. I feel like every good villanelle needs a good opener. And you can't just put anything there because everything feeds off of what that opener is. And there'd be days where I'd be like struggling, trying, like, I would need to find prompts. I would need to ask questions. I would need to look at things. I would need to, like, at times force things out that I didn't want to force things out, but like being on a limit, you kind of like look around and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get that out. And some of them flowed relatively easy because like the Yuki Ono one, that one was like, which is why I love it so much. I also really like yokai, and I'm doing a poetry book based on yokai. That is not one I am going to be sharing just yet because it's going to require an artist. At some point, I'm going to want singers for that. It's the yokai project started before I started the 10,000 poems project, and that is going to have 100 poems of yokai in it. Not 100 different yokai necessarily, but there is going to be 100 poems of the yokai in that book. All within like kind of like a modern narrative bent. And so, yeah, so this, what I'm doing here, public, displayed for everybody. And because I like yokai, the Yuki Onna one came relatively easy. And if you were to ask me what my favorite yokai are, Kitsune, Yuki Onna, Tanuki. Those are all usually always going to be the three that I go to. There are some arguments that can be made for others, but at the moment, those are the top three that I will literally tell everybody is Kitsune, Yuki Onna, Tanuki. And that's why you will see poems like the Yuki Onna Comes in the Villanelles, why it came so easily to me. Once you know the lore of certain things, you can manipulate and like talk about things and splice it together in a way you want to splice it together. And it works out well for you. Or at least it worked out well for me. Then there are times where I'd be like coming near to the end and I'd be like, fudge, what am I going to write on? I'm like, okay, well, let's write about early birds. Let's write about the nocturnal. Let's write about the seasons. Let's write about the elements. Let's write about anything I can think of to make up for, the things that I'm missing. And it is one of those, it's a hard form to do consistently, specifically to do 10 of in 10 days. It took me 10 days to finish the Villanelle volume, which is not as fast as I would have liked it to have been. Usually in 2 weeks, I will have finished 2, maybe 3, at maximum 4 volumes. But Villanelles are a heavy hitter. And I have, like, there's a part of me that, like, I understand the heaviness of Villanelles as to why it took so long. But at the same time, it frustrates me because I feel like there has been time wasted, but there hasn't been time wasted because I've written these Villanelles. So it's I feel conflicted about that. I feel very conflicted about that. Now by April, volume 50, like moving on, by April, volume 50, probably around the middle of April, Volume 50 should be out. Then somewhere in June, Volume 60, maybe May might be Volume 60, give or take. Then June or July, let's say if May is Volume 60, July, June, if July is 70, August is 80, depending on how well I do. September, October will be 90, and then by November I should hit 100. It really depends on how fast I get these done. If I'm able to get volume 50 done in April and then in May get volume 60 done, I am swimming. But that would require me to get them done by the middle of those months. Now, one last thing is that the importance of rest. Every time I do 1,000 volumes, there is a lot of mental load that tends to happen that I've come to discover, which also requires me to spend a few days of rest and not like going into full poetry production after I finished, because there's that essence of when you run a marathon, you need that time to relax, take a breath, get your bearings together, and then go, okay, I can do this, and off you go. So that is where I am at with Volume 40, what has happened, why things were a little behind schedule in my mind, and I will see you guys for another one of these specific type videos, hopefully in April. And then if there's like other reaction things or whatever that you want me to react to, let me know. But until then, you'll see my shorts and other stuff that I'm doing. So I'll see you then. Bye.